It's the AEMT lecture series. Welcome back. This will be video number 2 for chapter number 7. So I hope you've had time to take a look at number 1. Number 1's a basic refresher review of anatomy and physiology. And so we're going to continue with our lecture. Okay, so let's make this a little bit bigger here. Stand by. There we go. Okay, so we're talking in the introduction phase here. So a couple of definition. Gross anatomy. So gross anatomy is any type of visible part, and then when you get into microscopic, it's just like the word says, you're going to need a microscope to be able to view that. Alrighty. So let's talk about the cell. So we had mentioned it earlier. We know what cells lead to. They lead to tissue and to organs and organ systems, right? They do vary in their shape, and like cells are very specific to the organ system that they are assigned to. And remember, we had said that, for instance, cardiac cells have automaticity, right? That's going to be very much different than a skin cell. Liver cells are going to be completely different than those of a pancreatic cell, that sort of thing. So they are specialized to perform that specific function that they've been assigned to perform. I talked to you about how cells communicate. So cells communicate through electrochemically. They communicate through hormones, and so that is how cells talk to each other. So here we have a picture of a cell, and let's kind of go through it. And talk about it. All right. So here we have the cytoplasm. All right. And so what that cytoplasm is, it's like a fluid-like material, which the organelles kind of sit in. Okay, so that contains the organelles. Now, so when we talk about cytoplasm, it kind of breaks down. We have cytosol, and that's the fluid portion, right? That's the fluid portion of the cytoplasm. And that's pretty much all you need to know for that. And then we can start talking about the organelles. Okay, so their function is task related to the cell growth, maintenance, and the metabolism of the cell. Let's back up because I kind of want to go through these organelles real quick. All right, so we have the centriole here. That's a spindle-shaped organelle, and you know what? It's basically it kind of helps during cell division to move things around. Okay, so it helps in movement. Over here, let's start. We probably should start with the nucleus. You have when we look at the nucleus, you have the nuclear membrane, right? And a lot of times they'll have the nucleus and the nucleus envelope. But what you have here is when we're looking like, I'm just trying to get myself together here. So when we're looking at the nucleus and we're talking about that, your RNA, okay, like it's going to help make DNA and genetic stuff. It forms inside that nuclear envelope or that nuclear membrane, and then you have, let's see here. Okay, sorry about that. I had to pause you for a second. So yeah, so that's what that nucleus for. But the nucleus itself it's basically cell control. It's where the brain of the nucleus is. That's where it holds the genetic material and all that. So that's how that works. I mentioned ribosomes a minute ago, and so they're right here, right? And so basically, it's just that their job is to build proteins that the cell is going to need. All right. All right, so we have the vacuole here, and its job is to move material around. These are going to be some just brief type introduction to the cell. I'm not going to get too deep. Okay, then we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum, or RER. There it is right here. So RER, so this is, it's like a membrane that's folded, right? And they call it rough because it actually contains the ribosomes on that material. Okay. And it makes material. It's kind of like a warehouse. It can make material, but it can also store material as well. Right, and then let's see here. Here's the Golgi apparatus. Right, and the Golgi apparatus, it adds and stores proteins, okay, and carbohydrates. Okay, and then we can look at the all-important mitochondria. All right, and there it is right here. All right, and so the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You'll hear that a bunch. That's where ATP is developed. We'll talk more about that later. Let's see here. Just looking at my notes here, because like I said, we don't have to like dissect this thing completely, but I want you to kind of have an idea about it. The microfilaments, okay, they're composed of proteins, actin, and myosin. All right, and what they do, again, they help with to provide cell movement and contraction. We talked about the mitochondria. The perioxomes, and that's contains enzymes. It speeds up biochemical reactions. So I think that's pretty good for now. We'll come back to it if we need to, but that's your cell. The cell membrane. So basically what the cell membrane does, right? That it's going to allow certain things to come in and certain things to come out. Okay, it's specific to what it's going to let in the cell. All right, so you have your hydrophilic layers and your hydrophobic layers. Hydrophobic, they tend to not like water. That's why it's called hydrophobic. And then you have your hydrophilic layers, and philic meaning it loves.